Here's a good start to a review. A game published and developed by two now defunct companies. Hooray! Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy was published by THQ and developed by Eurocom Entertainment Software, a company mainly responsible for porting games to other systems. But they did make several themselves, including Buffy the Vampire Slayer Chaos Bleeds.
That's good.
Predator Concrete Jungle.
Ooh, that's bad.
That remake of GoldenEye.
That's good.
The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
That's bad.
A mixed bag indeed. But in 2003, Eurocom released a completely unique non-tie-in IP. I didn't really have any particular expectations with Sphinx. From the box art alone, I was anticipating an average run-of-the-mill action platformer typical for this console generation. But what coming into these games blind has taught me is that you should never judge a book by its cover. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, as the name suggests, is set in a fantasy ancient Egypt. Although the word Egypt is never actually mentioned, so it could be on a different planet for all I know. Kinda like that episode of Futurama.
Remember me!
I keep typing Sphinx out with a Y. I mean, look at the title. That looks like a Y, right? And it looks like it should be centered, but that can't be done with 6 letters, so it really bugs my OCD. Ooh, the good widescreen. Good Sphinx, good boy. Here, have a biscuit. Sphinx is a nice blend of action platforming with stealth and puzzles shared between the two main protagonists. But this isn't the usual buddy Ratchet & Clank or Banjo-Kazooie arrangement. Sphinx and the Mummy never actually physically pair up for the most part, but they do help each other nonetheless. This will become clear later. Dark times are upon the land of... I'll call it Topidge. That's Egypt backwards. The gods Osiris and Set, who together form the god of gods Ra, have fallen into conflict as Set has become jealous of Osiris and plans to bring darkness to the world. Okay, this is starting out like the prologue from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Anyway, Set has overtaken the land of Uruk, building a huge fortress using the Eye of Ra sky beam thingy in order to keep Osiris at bay while he makes plans to overthrow Topidge. The magician, Imhotep, who fears the coming of this dark prophecy, recruits his two best apprentices, Sphinx and Horus. He transports them to an area on the outskirts of Uruk, and tasks them with finding the Blade of Osiris, which serves as the game's main weapon. This first objective acts as the game's tutorial, where you learn the basic platforming, object manipulation, and a bit of puzzle solving. With the sword in hand, Imhotep directs Sphinx to an amulet to access a god portal to return home. Failing to obtain the correct amulet, Imhotep has no idea where this one leads, but Sphinx has no other choice but to enter. Meanwhile, at the somewhere else... Enter Prince Tutankhamun, not Tutankhamun for some reason. He is the Prince of Luxor, and today is his birthday. Sorry about the rather lengthy story dump, but what happens at the start is important to understanding the game's premise. Prince Tut goes about his day unaware that there's treachery afoot, in the form of his scheming brother Akhenaten, who has his eye on the throne. When asked to find some old amulets by his aunt, Tut explores the palace, finding secret passages and stumbling upon Akhenaten's evil plot. His plan is to remove Tut from the picture via the ceremony of mummification. Yeah, it's obvious where this is going. Tut's soul is divided and collected into multiple canopic vases, leaving Tut as the mummy. But wait, who is this to crash the party? Why, it's Sphinx! That mysterious amulet conveniently transported here just in time to disrupt the ceremony. This interference makes their portal go haywire, sending them and the mummy to Uruk Castle and the canopic vases to random locations. Tut's girlfriend, Nefereti, is completely distraught, and asks Sphinx to recover these vases in hope to bring him back to life. She gives Sphinx one of the amulets Tut collected, which is a way out, transporting Sphinx to Abydos, the main city where the game finally opens up and starts proper. So did you get all that? The game has been pretty linear up to this point, but now an open world with multiple locations and many things to do is at your disposal, with a few RPG elements to boot. The environments and graphical details are beautifully done, neat little touches around every corner, and this has some of the best facial animations I've seen in a PS2 game. The only thing that took me out of it slightly was the lack of voice acting. The strange vocalizations instead of proper speech makes the cutscenes fall a little flat. Like an RPG, you gather information by exploring and talking to the locals, and like any RPG, they will all have their problems that need solving.
I'm too lazy to go to the shop and buy some milk. Do this for me and I shall reward thee.
Okay, maybe not that trivial, but they do vary from simple fetch quest to a long, complicated rescue mission. Money is found in the usual video game manner by beating it out of enemies and inside breakable objects. You can also participate in a variety of minigames, such as blowpipe shooting, an obstacle course, Simon, and this guy runs the Jamiroquai simulator. Just another way of making money for purchasing upgrades and supplies for easier questing. The most important quests result in the canopic vases and the sacred crowns. Each time you acquire a canopic vase, it's transported to Mummy trapped inside Uruk Castle, giving him temporary life. Sphinx helps Mummy by recovering his soul fragments that he may live again, and Mummy helps Sphinx by finding useful upgrades and information.
Hey!
My favourite parts were when you were playing as Mummy. Every time you revisit him, you unlock a new part of Uruk Castle, presenting you with a new, complex, multi-room puzzle to solve. Contrary to the hack-and-slash shenanigans of Sphinx, Mummy utilises stealth and his ability to not die. This is very refreshing. There are no game overs because you can throw Mummy around like a rag doll. In fact, putting him in danger is essential to solving puzzles. Fire, electricity, and being able to squeeze through narrow gaps come from simply inflicting these upon him, accompanied by each state's own background music, which I thought was a nice touch. It's not just Mummy who gets all the puzzling fun. Sphinx does his part, but his puzzle's more action-orientated, and boss fights that require some thought instead of just run up and hit the thing. Along the way, Sphinx is summoned before Anubis, which is where the sacred crowns come in. These 4 crowns need to be collected in order to restore Osiris' power and help bring down Set forever. With the combat, the puzzles and several RPG elements, I found this to be very reminiscent of The Legend of Zelda. Wind Waker to be more precise. Not a rip-off though, it's certainly its own thing, but progression gains you new toys, boss fights result in an additional health vessel, minigames, and even defeating enemies has that little music sting. A game that borrows from another is not a bad thing, as long as the resulting game is still good. The Simpsons Hit and Run, for example, is basically GTA Springfield, but it's still a good game nonetheless. Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy is fantastic. The story is engaging, the variety of gameplay is divided well between the 2 protagonists, awesome puzzles and satisfying fluid combat. It received positive reviews upon release, but still fell through the cracks. There's clearly effort on show here, and they knew it. I won't spoil the ending, but I will say that it leaves the story very open-ended, leading to a planned sequel. But since neither Eurocom or THQ no longer exist, barring someone buying the rights, this is very unlikely to happen. Which is really sad, as I genuinely like to know how the story concludes. this probably fell into the trap of overshadowing of more popular franchises again. So far I've only played the first Ratchet & Clank, and after this, I'm gonna say it, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy was better.